Good evening, my name is Katarzyna Nowicka and welcome to Poland Daily News. Instead of being a family-centered, peaceful holiday, the 102nd anniversary of Poland's regaining independence quickly turned into street clashes and brawls. After yesterday's march, over 300 people were detained. A fire broke out in one of the apartments of Warsaw's Police district. The police published an image of the perpetrator and asked Polish citizens for help in the search. In an attempt to disperse crowds at the march, police used smoothbore guns. A Solidarity Weekly photographer, Tomasz Gutry, was shot in the face with a rubber bullet. The commanding officer has already ordered an explanation. Our aim was not to target journalists, but those who were aggressive towards the police. Minister of Internal Affairs and Administration, Mariusz Kamiński, defended the police. Given the aggressive behavior of some of the participants in the demonstration, the use of direct coercive measures by the police was necessary. Each time they were appropriate to the situation. The police always aim to ensure public order and security. The response to aggression and violence must be a firm and decisive police response. I pay tribute to all those participants in the Independence March who celebrated today's anniversary with dignity. I also hope that the organizers of the march will properly evaluate the behavior of those participants of the congregation whose attitude had nothing to do with celebrating independence. During the demonstration, the city infrastructure was also damaged. For the time being, the Warsaw Town Hall is analyzing the possibilities of taking legal action. The losses are estimated at several dozen thousand złotych. The losses of the town were already being estimated yesterday. The town bicycle stop was damaged. There was an attempt to set fire to the door in one of the town hall's offices. Paving stones and posts were damaged. A motion to the prosecutor's office was filed by politicians of the left against Robert Bąkiewicz. There is no permission for such people to walk the streets. We demand a ban on this march. Some politicians point out that some of the actions carried out by the police require more control. We believe that all reports of incidents which have been flowing in must be assessed and explained. We must wait for the findings of the services and police. Every aggression must be thoroughly explained, no matter who instigated it. Every person who abuses their power should be punished. Our reporter, Dominik Gajda, took to the streets of Warsaw in an attempt to speak to Polish citizens and see what they had to say on yesterday's clashes on the streets of Warsaw between violent protesters and the riot police. No comment. A terrible thing. Such a thing should not happen. Apparently, the police did not have 100% control of this. I don't think that the use of rubber bullets is a good way to suppress this type of riot. I think that what was done in the women's protests is enough. This looked bad. People are behaving badly. They're starting to get off their feet a bit. If the car ride that was planned took place, the march would have had a peaceful end. Many people in Poland decided to help seniors in this difficult time by joining the Elderly Assistance Program, which is supported by the Polish Ministry of Family, Labor and Social Policy. According to the head of the ministry, Marlena Maląg, Poles show acts of compassion, kindness and understanding, making life easier for senior citizens during the global coronavirus pandemic. The Solidarity Senior Assistance Corps, which has been operating for over 2 weeks now, is constantly developing. Many volunteers are joining the program. As of today, over 10,000 seniors and almost as many volunteers have joined the program. We've also prepared financial support in the amount of 100 million złotych. The money goes to the individual voivodeships of Poland through their governors, and that is how the program is carried out. Western Europe is struggling with rising numbers of daily new coronavirus infections. The situation is quickly deteriorating in Sweden, which had earlier experienced a couple of relative calm months over the summer. Our reporter Paulina Bilińska has more on the figures reported from Western Europe. The coronavirus pandemic is refusing to slow down. Political leaders across the world are introducing new restrictions to slow the spread. The number of new hospitalizations is rising fast in Sweden. The country has so far not introduced a requirement to wear face masks, and children are still attending school as usual. However, the government has now decided to ban the sale of alcohol in restaurants, bars and nightclubs after 10 p.m. All the figures are showing that we are heading in the wrong direction. The epidemic is spreading quickly, and the number of patients treated in intensive care units due to COVID has more than doubled in the last week. Keeping this in mind, the government has decided that we need to take additional measures to slow the spread. That's why we will ban the sale of alcohol after 10 p.m. The number of new cases is also rising quickly in Great Britain, France and Italy. 595 British patients passed away from COVID-19 just in the last 24 hours. That's the highest figure since mid-May. France saw an increase in 36,000 patients, which is more than double the amount of new hospitalizations in the previous day. The situation is also worsening in Italy, where 623 people died in the past day, while 33,000 new infections were detected. That means that the number of infections in Italy has now crossed the 1 million mark. Germany is faring better, but the head of the Robert Koch Institute is warning that it's not the time to be optimistic. The epidemiological situation in Germany is still very serious. The number of new cases is rising across the country. There is still something that gives me hope, namely that the pace of the increase is starting to slow somewhat. The curve is flattening. We don't know whether that trend is here to stay, but we'll find out soon, but it shows that we aren't helpless. Lufthansa is also facing times of uncertainty. The airline has introduced mandatory testing for passengers leaving the country. I think that it's good that there is more testing. It makes us feel safer during the flight. When you receive a negative result and you become aware that the remaining passengers have also tested negative, you feel much more comfortable on board. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has tested positive for the virus and has been hospitalized. The authorities say that it's a precautionary measure and that the symptoms are so far mild. That's all for tonight. Now on to Poland Daily Business with Aleksander Wierzejski and his guest. Good night.